Chapter 25-26. 6 months later. General POV. A medium-sized pirate ship was just about to enter Heaven's Gate. It had around 20 people on its deck. Flying a Jolly Roger with long black hair under a pirate hat, along with lipstick on its skull lips. It was named the Karakiri Pirates. They have come here after passing the summit of the High West. Ha! Well, we got lucky. A woman with long black hair said as she released a long breath. A while back it was pretty dangerous for them to come through the summit of the High West. Even though it is said to be a convenient way to reach the sky, they were lucky that they had 2 devil fruit users on their crew, or some of them might have lost their life. /N. There is no information on what the summit of the High West is, though it is confirmed that it is something akin to a convenient, yet dangerous route to Skypea. I will have to go with a common theory in that case, according to which, it is a 10,000 meters tall mountain similar to Reverse Mountain, and is connected to the sky's Milky Road. Oh Rhea, a man in his 30s said as he hugged the woman from behind. With your and my devil fruit powers, it was obvious that we will come out alive from that place. He said as he kissed her hair. But let's forget about it for now, we have finally reached the legendary Sky Island Skypea, he said pointing in front of them. As he said this, the black-haired woman Rhea looked ahead, as the gigantic construction with the name Heaven's Gate, carved on it, entered her views. She smiled seeing this, however. A blush also appeared on Rhea's face, as she put her hand above the hands hugging her abdomen. Hey! She said in a hardly audible voice. The crewmates are around. Don't do this here, Rains. She said as she slowly started to remove his hands, however. He just held them tighter. Relax. They are completely fine with this. The man named Rains said as she looked around her. The crewmates were just giggling from the sidelines. Rhea just sighed. She is from a small island from the paradise side of the Grand Line, but a few months ago, her adventurous side took over, and she decided to sail the sea. After that, on her journey, she met many people and now, she even had her own crew. Looking towards the man behind her, Rains, a sweet smile blossomed on her face. He was her first crewmate. They have gone through many life-threatening situations together. Around a month ago they decided to come to Sky Island. But before they started their journey, Rains had proposed to marry her. Her smile became more apparent as she looked at the gate ahead of them. She had accepted his proposal, however. She will only marry him when they settle down after visiting Skypea. She decided to disband her crew when they returned from Skypea. So she was a little sad, yet very excited to finish this journey and go back to her home, marry the man she loves, have children and live a happy life. Just a few more days. Asterisk. The Shandian tribe chief was sitting at the checkpoint inside Heaven's Gate. But he wasn't alone, as Gonfall was also there while wearing his knight armor. Currently they were playing chess. Gonfall, you are coming here quite frequently? Chief asked while he made a move using his queen. After Amon took over, the first thing he did was to change the gatekeeper of Heaven's Gate, a mentally ill old woman named Amazon, since the chief didn't have any duty these days. Also because of Amon's specific decree. He is the one who mostly stays here. Also making a move, Gonfall snickered. You are bad at this, Mr. Chief, he said. On the other hand, Gonfall, after he lost to Amon, left and went to a secluded part of Skypea, where a small chunk of Verth laid. Now, he lives there while passing most of his time watering his pumpkin garden and doing his job as a Sky Knight, a mercenary who protects travelers from outside harm. He chose this job thinking that the Shandians will continue their attacks on random Blue Sea visitors. However, in the past year he hasn't found a single case of the Shandians attacking outsiders. He was very relieved to see this, though he was also a little sad that he couldn't earn much Xtal, Skypea currency, because of this. Nonetheless, he was more than happy. Now, searching for people to protect like a knight in shining armor, Gonfall flies with his Pegasus. But since he can't find anyone asking for help, he sometimes stops here and plays chess with the chief. Though he was a bit wary if he should really talk to his former enemy who might still hold a grudge against him, or not. As time passed and he kept seeing him spending his time alone every day, Gonfall one day decided to have a conversation with him. Thus, the romance of 2 old men began. In truth, unbeknownst to the both of them, the reason Amon specifically made the chief into the gatekeeper was that he had already foreseen this kind of development. After all, this development already occurred in anime. Suddenly, seeing the turmoil of sea current, both Chief and Gonfall noticed the arrival of a pirate ship, causing Gonfall to grip his lance for a possible fight. Asterisk. Wow, look, those 2 old men have wings on their back, Rain said from the front of the ship, as it was going forward at a very slow pace. Soon the ship stopped in the middle of the gate since the water current was almost non-existent here. Looking at the 2 old men in the checkpoint-like place, Rhea went in the front of the ship, and loudly shouted, "Hey, is this the Sky Island Skypea?" Yes, young lady, you are at the right place, but for you to pass this gate you have to pay money. Since, as you can see, your ship won't move without our help. Chief replied, pointing at the unmoving ship. What if we don't pay? Rains asked, crossing his arms. They were pirates after all. What kind of pirate would follow the rules? Of course you can also not pay, and we will still help you get onto Angel Island. This time, Gonfall replied as Rain's eyes lit up. But, the chief stated, you guys will be labeled as criminals and the white berets. Some people similar to Marines will be after all of you. This time the chief answered. Huh! Rains exclaimed his shock. However, Rhea stopped him. How much should we pay? She calmly asked towards the old men. Oh, good decision. The chief instantly replied. You have to pay 10 billion extals per person. Chief said as Gonfall frowned. Though the Shandians have stopped attacking pirate ships randomly, they have increased the 1 billion entry price to 10 billion. Sigh. However, he just sighed. He wasn't the god anymore. He shouldn't meddle in these political things anymore. T10 billion belly. Ranis exclaimed in pure shock. Even though they had devil fruit users, they were just a small pirate crew who hadn't even seen 500 million bellies, let alone 10 billion. It's not bellies. Chief corrected. It's extals. If you want to pay with belly, then you can just pay 1 million per crew member. Though Rains was still shocked since they have 20 crew members, meaning it will still need 20 million bellies for them to enter. Rhea started to think about his words carefully. Her eyes twitched as a plan hit her head. Clasping her hands behind her back, she looked ahead. Are there any discounts? She asked towards the old men, as she took a seductive pose. However, they just ignored her as the chief said. Yes, you can get 25% off for the whole crew if there is one person with devil fruit. If there are two, then it will be 50% off, he said. Then he took out a paper, or rather a form. If you have devil fruit, then you'll have to fill this form with your devil fruit name and the eater's name, he said. You see, we Skypieans respect the devil fruit users a lot. Gonfall looked at him suspiciously. Or at least God does. Though they didn't understand what he meant by God, they instantly became happy. Though 10 million was still a lot of money, they felt this wasn't much to spend for their last island. Rains, seeing this, immediately declared, Yes, we have 2 devil fruit users, give us 2 forms. Rhea frowned seeing this. Is it safe to let out the news that they are devil fruit users so easily? Sigh. Maybe I'm just thinking too much. Soon they took 2 forms and filled them with their pirate crew name, the holder of the devil fruit names, and the name of the devil fruit of the respective person. The woman named Rhea had the sharp hair fruit, while the man named Rains had the bone claw fruit. After filling the form, the chief kept a copy of the 2 papers and gave one to them, as they paid 10 million belly. Soon after, a speedy shrimp came and pulled their ship towards the Angel Island. Wow, it is rare to see visitors with a mystical devil fruit coming here. In fact, I think this is the first after Amon took over, Gonfall said as chief went to his table and entered the 2 papers into a fax dial. The fax was then sent to Amon. Hearing the sound coming from the fax dial on his side, Amon, who was wearing a pair of glasses, stopped reading a book with advanced biology written on its cover. Soon, 2 papers came out of the fax dial. They contained the information the 2 pirates just provided. Picking up the papers from his table, and seeing the devil fruit and its user's name, Amon smirked. Though the fruits are lame, I'm not looking for devil fruits as of now, rather I'm looking for a user. Yet I just found users, he said as he got up from his seat. Time for some experiments. Zizity as the fax reached Amon. He stopped reading his advanced biology book. After reincarnating here, Amon didn't have any access to these kinds of books from the tribe. However, even after he became God, that fact didn't change. Nonetheless, he has found a way to acquire these books through a friend from Angel Island. Putting down the book, he picked up the 2 sheets of paper. Amon then started reading it silently as a smirk formed on his face. Without removing his glasses, Amon then used his tone dial, trying to connect it with his friend on Angel Island. Asterisk ring, asterisk, gotcha. Hello. After a few seconds of ringing, the call was picked up as a mature feminine voice came from the other side. Who is it? Hello, Auntie Coin. It's me, Amon. Amon said as he picked up a batch of grapes. Oh, Amon. How have you been, my dear? The woman said from the other side. Without any particular reaction on his face, Amon then started to slowly eat grapes from the batch. After that, both of them exchanged greetings. The woman, Coin, decided to ask the real question. Anyway, Amon, you don't call frequently. What happened today? Anything you need from Conies? New books perhaps, he said. But unfortunately she isn't here. You can tell me what you need, I will see what I can do. Ah, auntie, Amon cut her. Why do you think I called for conies? Can't I just have small talk with this beautiful blonde aunt of mine? Amon said as he picked up another batch of grapes, having the previous one already finished. Fufu, are you a grown-up boy now? The last time we met was a few months ago. Who taught you sugar-coating in this short period? She said in an amusing tone. What sugar-coating? I always state the facts. Haven't you heard kids don't tell lies? Hearing him, the woman just laughed. Around a year ago, when he was newly selected as God, Amon went to Angel Island to fetch some medical books in disguise. There he met the Skypea Ark's important figure, Conies, also her father Pagaya, and her mom Coin, the one he's talking to now. He didn't recall Conies having a mother, so she was most likely dead by the time of canon. Thinking if his presence had caused any changes or not, he decided to keep an eye on Coin that day. However, he didn't need to wait much, as a few hours later on that same day, a few pirates took her hostage as they hadn't paid the entry fee and were labeled as criminals, causing them to be chased by the White Berets. As even after the god changed, the White Berets still worked under the current god, meaning Amon, preventing things from getting messy. Amon was already there, so he didn't mind using this chance to show off his heroism. So he went ahead and beat up the criminals, saving the life of Coin in the process. He didn't reveal that he was the current god for specific reasons which will help him in the future. Despite this, him being Shandian was revealed. Seeing him risking his life for a random Skypiean, the Skypians' view on Shandia changed quite significantly after that. For a year already, Amon has been talking with them using a tone dial, and frequents their place when he needs books. Naturally, his relationship with Conies' family became close. Their relationship with Shandia as a whole improved as well. Anyway, how has your health been up to? He asked. Want me the doctor to visit? No, it's alright. Just say what you want. I'm not a child who will be fooled by your sugary words, she said from the other side, even though she was enjoying the praises. Alright, I'll be direct, Amon said, making her a little disappointed. You see, I was a little worried about you since a pirate ship has come to Skypea again. Just wanted to warn you to stay safe, since I might not be able to save you this time, Amon said out of goodwill, as her previous disappointment vanished in thin air, and a smile involuntarily blossomed on Coin's face. Oh, that's so sweet of you, he said. Well, anything else? Flipping on her back on the bed, she asked. Oh yes, if you happen to meet them, can you warn them about not stepping on the upper yard? The god is quite pissed these days, so not only will they lose their life, even I will go through harsh times, for a specific reason that I can't tell you, Amon said. If they don't listen, then warn them about the gold monster. The monster that attracts people using their greed. If you do so, they will definitely stay out of the upper yard, Amon said using the Uno reverse card. Huh, alright. Didn't you call to warn me of the pirates? Now you want me to meet them? She asked. Huh, hello. I can't hear you. Hello. Hello. HW. Lou. Amon acted as if he can't hear her at all as he pressed the button to cancel the call. Gotcha. That kid. Was he lying? Sigh, whatever. He saved my life once. Maybe if the god is pissed as he said, he might have to go through punishment. I will do him a favor this time. Even though the call was cut, he was still able to hear her words. After all, Amon had all the tone dial on Angel Island tapped. Asterisk. A few hours later, nighttime. Stealing a small boat, 2 people, or more specifically, 1 male and 1 female, went to the upper yard through the Milky Road. As the boat was now in the middle of the upper yard forest, the female opened her mouth. Rains, is this a good idea? The addressee of the question, Rains, just grinned. Obviously, he confidently answered. From what we gathered, and according to that blonde woman, there is a monster named Gold that attracts people using their greed, he said and chuckled. It's quite easy to understand that just like the god thingy, this gold monster is also a myth, he said as the woman started to think about his words. Here in this place, people don't even know what rubber is, so they not knowing and valuing gold is also normal, he said as he nodded to himself. Well, your words do have a point, the woman named Rhea replied. However, we decided to settle down after this journey, so is it a good idea to steal? She asked. Ha ha ha, Rhea, you are only 21, so you still don't know the value of life. Rains laughed out loud. However, he quickly suppressed himself as this might alarm the nearby creatures. Anyway, Rhea, what I'm trying to say is, our children who will be born in the future, they will need money to grow up, money so that they don't grow into pirates and criminals like us, he said and stayed silent for the next 20 seconds. Besides, we already know that these people don't value gold, So instead of them keeping all of it by themselves without any use, we should rather use it to improve our lives, right? Rhea nodded her head hearing him. Though her sailing out in the sea is mostly because of adventure, poverty also played a role. She doesn't want her children to suffer like her. She also didn't bring the other crewmates here. Since the moment they stepped on the upper yard, they were labeled as criminals. They will run away after this. They didn't want their crewmates to also keep running for their life at the end too. Yes, it's because we didn't want them to risk their life. Yes. It didn't matter how much denial they were in truth. They were just greedy. Heh, humans and their greed. Amon, who was in a tree near the small boat, said as he looked down. His observation hockey wasn't like Enel's, who could read literal thoughts. However, it is powerful enough to feel other people's emotions more than what Fishman Queen Otoheim could. Then pulling out a tribal blowgun, he filled it with a sharpened spike, the spike being dripped with a very special type of chemical. Then pointing it towards Rains, he positioned it in his mouth. The spike went out, but it didn't stab the target, rather it just scratched his skin. But that was enough for Amon. Eranis. What happened? Rhea asked worriedly. Don't worry. Probably a bug bite, Rains said as Rhea nodded. A few minutes passed as Rains stopped talking. Worried, Rhea looked back. However, she suddenly felt two hands hugging her tightly. Eranis. What happened to you? She asked, shocked as she felt a long tongue licking her nape. Rhea. I feel strange, he said in a gruff and shaky voice. Let's do it, Rains said from behind while breathing profusely. Here. Rains, are you out of your mind? Rhea refuted as she looked back towards Rains. But seeing his face, her eyes almost popped out. No, he didn't change into a werewolf or anything, or at least not a full one. Currently, Rains had large fangs along with large nails, with his skin slowly turning black. Kaya! She screamed, and before she could think any longer, a green gas enveloped the place, as she and Rains lost their consciousness. And soon, a small structured boy wearing a tribal mask jumped on the boat. Well, the chemical work, kind of. But it made the dude horny, he said. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? The tribesman, or rather Amon, said looking at the unconscious duo. Well, anyway, time for the real thing to begin.